Hey everybody, I just want to do a quick video on the AFC Championship, the Super Bowl, and the Australian Open. And this is mainly to show the numbers, the 666 and the 666 that just is coming up over and over and over again in these sporting events. So I just want to start by showing a graphic of a video that I already made. And this was from a show called NFL Live on ESPN. And it was two men, Jerome Bettis here, that's a Pittsburgh Steeler, and a man, Damian Woody, that played for the New England Patriots. Both of these were former players making Super Bowl prognostications, their odds. And you see here, Damian's odds were 66%, and Jerome's were 60 for the Patriots to make the Super Bowl, and the 666 here. And if you didn't see this on my last video, then I showed the odds of these numbers occurring on that screen were 1 in 1,000. So just to show people that, this stuff really isn't as coincidental as it seems, that particularly using this satanic number 666, is it's very purposeful and it's in our face to mock us, the public. And what I want to look at now is a graphic from the AFC Championship game. And what I want you to notice are a couple things. First, you have Le'Veon Bell with 6 rushes. Antonio Brown with 6 receptions. So horizontally, you have the 666. And then you've got Antonio Brown with 6 receptions, 66 yards. So here, obviously, in a pyramid, you've got a 666. And, what was interesting, what we'll come back to, is Le'Veon Bell, arguably the best running back in the league. He leaves the AFC Championship game in the first quarter with the groin injury, and he leaves after his 6th carry. So what I want to focus on first is this graphic of Antonio Brown, the 666 in the pyramid, our little Masonic Illuminati pyramid here. So I want to look at the odds of those numbers appearing on the screen. So of 6 receptions for 66 yards. So to calculate those odds, we need to set some parameters. And the most receptions that we've seen in an NFL game the last 2 years was actually by Antonio Brown, the same player. And it was 17 receptions in November of 2015. So we're going to set that parameter that in any given game, conceivably a player could have between 1 and 17 receptions. So for receiving yards, the record this year was by Julio Jones, the Atlanta Falcons, and it's 300 yards. And Julio is obviously playing in the Super Bowl this week on Sunday. This is Friday night. And he set this record in October of this year, coincidentally, against the Carolina Panthers, who played in the Super Bowl last year. So setting those as our parameters of 1 to 17 receptions and 1 to 300 receiving yards, the odds of 6 occurring from 1 to 17 is obviously just 1. It only occurs once. And the odds of 66 occurring from 1 to 300, it's obviously only once. It only occurs once. So we multiply that 1 in 17 multiplied by 1 in 300. We get an odds of 1 in 5,100. 1 in over 5,000. I mean, that's a long shot. That'd be kind to call that a long shot. Would you take those odds? Would you take those odds on getting your paycheck next week? 1 in 5,100. So ridiculous long shot odds. To me, in my estimation, clearly shows that's not coincidental, that number. But for it to be the 666, Satan's number, no coincidence. To me, the Freemasons, the Satanists that run the media, the TV, the NFL, the sports league, very clearly mocking you as the public and putting that in your face. And the next thing we noticed was that 6 carries by Le'Veon Bell. So he has 6 carries and he leaves the game with a groin injury in the first quarter. I see this happen and I'm just like laughing, like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You know, the best running back in football. He's in the AFC Championship, the biggest game of his life. He's trained his whole life to try and get to the Super Bowl. He's got a shot to get there. And he can't play. He can't go. It's like a preseason game. He just happens to leave the game with a sore groin. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, it was comical. You know, you would think the best running back in the league would want to be out there playing in the most important game of his life, but he just happens to leave with a groin injury, and he does it after his sixth carry of the game, you know, by coincidence. So, you know, to me, that was no accident. The significance of that number, the sixth carry is his last carry of the game. To me, what this was a mock sacrifice of the game. One of the very best players, Le'Veon Bell, he leaves the game after the sixth carry. This was a mock sacrifice for the Patriots to win during the game. And let's just go ahead and look at our next graphic here. So after the game, this graphic was showing, during the game, this graphic was showing of the most Super Bowl appearances. Bill Belichick ties Don Shula with, there you have it, 6 Super Bowl appearances, 6-6. So there's that 6 number with the Patriots. Once again, 6-6. And to take you back to something I showed in my previous video, another example of that 6 was this was showing right after the Patriots won their divisional game, making their 6th straight AFC Championship game appearance. So we're just seeing those 6s over and over and over and over and over again to the point of redundancy with the Patriots. So the Super Bowl is this Sunday. I wanted to show a clip. This was from the Super Bowl interviews this week. Tom Brady at the podium, and here's a stat. Tom Brady is 24-9 in his 33 career postseason starts. 33, there you have it. 33, you know, probably the second, maybe the most prominent number Freemasons use. 33, 6, 23. So, you know, quite interesting. You just happen to see that 33 number next to Tom Brady, the star player, the biggest star in the whole league. So, you know, that's it for the graphics I want to show. And, you know, in terms of the Super Bowl, I think the Patriots are going to win. But, you know, I can't say definitively. I think it's going to be rigged for them, but I will say the Madden video game back in August predicted the Falcons to win the Super Bowl, I think by a 5-point margin. And 9 out of the last 13 years, the Madden video game has predicted the Super Bowl winner in August in the preseason. So that kind of shows you another indicator of how rigged this stuff is. You've got a video game before the season starts picking Super Bowl winners at a 70-something% clip. And they were wrong last year with the Broncos, but Madden was correct the year before at the Patriots beating the Seahawks. So we'll have to see. I'm leaning towards New England. I was wrong about the Packers making the Super Bowl. A few people told me so. And, you know, I'm all good with criticism. You know, anyone wants to criticize me, I'm all good with that. I'm just a humble man. Make an observation. I'm nobody important. I'm no expert. I'm no prophet by any means. And you're welcome to. I ask you, just please don't use profanity. Think of something better to say than a more intelligent phrase than profanity. So, moving on, I want to talk briefly about the Australian Open Tennis Championship. And I want to show a graphic. The first graphic is Rafael Nadal. He's the famous Spaniard tennis player, one of the best players in the world. You know, any sports fan is going to know him. I want to look at his attire right here, and you'll see he's sponsored by Nike. And those of us that are aware of the Freemason, the occult world, we know that this swoosh and for Nike, the logo, this most notably signifies the ring of Saturn. And Saturn is used over and over again in occultism. You know, it symbolizes Satan, the occult. It symbolizes hell. In the movie Beetlejuice, when people died, they went to Saturn with the sandworms, the serpent, So Saturn, the ring of Saturn, the occult and Satanism, in the Nike logo. And, then if you look at the logo on his hat, I don't know if you can see this at home, the logo on his shirt emblem. If you look at this, to me, what it clearly looks like is the Baphomet, the horns, the satanic beast horned logo. Now, Nike will say, I think that this is their tennis racket logo, their tennis logo, and it's a tennis racket. Doesn't look a lot like a tennis racket to me, from my perspective. That looks like horns and a beast. I mean, kind of the classic Baphomet head image. So don't know if you could see that. You be the judge, but, we see the Nike Saturnic logo and the beast logo here. And moving on to the next observation from the Australian Open. So Roger Federer is your winner, and this is Friday night. This final was last Sunday, and I wanted to make a video about this before the men's final, but I've been so busy. You guys know how life goes. It's so hard finding time to just get things done, let alone making these videos in your free time. So you'll notice Roger Federer wins. You'll see the 666, and it's in blood red. And that's not unusual to see the 666 in tennis, because it requires 6 games to win a set. And if you're tied at 5, then it requires 7 games. If you're tied at 6, it requires 7, the tiebreaker. If you're tied in the 5th deciding set, then it requires to win by 2 games. So that could be 17-15, 9-7, any numbers with a gap of 2. So the 666 isn't unusual, but it's highlighted in blood red with Roger Federer's name. And what I really notice, if you look up here, you'll see this, stadium light, kind of this beacon, kind of the effect that comes from the sky, and you'll see 6 points of light, like a 6-sided star. And it's illuminating our 2 finalists here. And what's interesting is our winner, Roger Federer, is on the left-hand side, and the light's more prominent upon Roger. And, in God's kingdom, the right hand is the honorable and correct hand, the right hand path. And like Jesus Christ said in the Bible, he's seated at the right hand of power, next to the Father God. And in this tennis match, the champion is on the left-hand side. And in the satanic kingdom, in Satan's kingdom, it's the opposite. It's the left-hand path. Like you'll always see these celebrities covering up their right eye, showing that they're in pact with Lucifer, Satan. So I thought that was interesting. You got Roger Federer, the winner, on the left-hand side, and this kind of light illuminating him like Lucifer, so to speak. So moving on to our observations about the Australian Open tennis tournament. So Roger Federer was on a 6-month layoff, and they said this over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout the entire tournament. And even when Federer wasn't playing, they said he had a 6-month layoff from injury. He last played competitively at Wimbledon in July of last year. And Roger Federer, this was his 6th Australian Open final, and they mentioned this again and again when he made it his 6th final. And he won his 18th major with this victory. 6 + 6 + 6, a big 666 number. The final set, the score was 6-3. Roger wins 6 games to 3. Now, what's interesting is Nadal had won the 4th set, and he was up 3-1 in the 5th set. He'd really taken control of the match. Looked like he was going to cruise to victory. And all of a sudden, it's like he just ran out of gas. He couldn't chase down balls. He had no energy. He was slow. And that was odd, because people that know tennis, Rafael Nadal is considered the greatest competitor to ever play tennis. The man who's had the best stamina, the best energy levels throughout, the entire match to ever play tennis, that you don't want to get in a 5-set match with this guy because he doesn't get tired, that he just has stamina and a willpower and a competitive spirit that nobody in tennis has ever seen. That really, his skill isn't the greatest, but it's his competitiveness and his stamina and his the shape he's in. So very odd that Nadal just kind of, gets very fatigued and lackadaisical, and Federer wins the next 5 games to win the championship in the 5th set. So it made me wonder. I saw the tail end of it, did Nadal lay down? Was this thing rigged? So something else I noticed was the number 17, the lucky 17. They mentioned this over and over and over again in the telecast. Roger Federer was the 17 seed. The year was 2017. And they mentioned Pete Sampras, who a lot of people consider the second greatest tennis player of all time, next to Roger Federer, was the 17 seed when he won his last major at the U.S. Open in 2002. So they mentioned these three things over and over again throughout the tournament. Now, if you look at 17, you flop the number, 7 minus 1, it's a 6. So, I think this could be considered a 666 reference with these three 17s being mentioned over and over again. You may say, well, you're kind of looking too much into that. Fair enough, you be the judge, but I don't think there are many coincidences, so it's stood out to me. And also with the 17, Roger Federer had previously had 17 majors till he won his 18th at the Aussie Open. And notably in this tournament, Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray, the two best players in the world by a pretty good margin, number 1 and 2, lost very early in this tournament, which was unusual. Djokovic, who is by far been the best player at the Australian Open for a number of years. He just dominates down there. He lost in the second round. And this was Djokovic's earliest loss in a major since 2008. You do the math, that's around 40 major tournaments he's played since he last lost this early. Djokovic has 6, there's a number again, 6 Australian Open titles. So he's stuck on that satanic number, and he is the world record holder for Australian Open titles at 6. Then Andy Murray, the number 1 player in the world right now, Djokovic is number 2. Andy Murray loses in the third round. And, very odd early loss. Huge upset. These are both just enormous upsets. And the last time that both Djokovic and Murray lost before the quarterfinals of the major was the 2004 French Open. So you're looking at, that's been, let's see here, over 50 major tournaments since that's happened. So pretty odd, pretty ridiculously huge upsets. Made me wonder, boy, seemed like this thing was kind of set up to be the Federer Invitational for him to get that 18th major. Federer's 35, Nadal's 30. 35 is really old for a tennis player. Nadal runs out of gas. It had a weird soap opera, Disney ending feel to it. So I wondered if it was rigged. I mean, you be the judge. Seems so to me. And another observation, I'm a big golf fan. Jack Nicklaus, he's the record holder on the PGA Tour for major titles in golf with 18. And that's a 666 number, 6 plus 6 plus 6. So, what's interesting to me, you've got, the two individual sports, the main ones, golf and tennis. Roger Federer and Jack Nicklaus, the prospective record holders, now have 18 majors each. That 666 number, that satanic number. And I would really bet that Roger Federer just won his last major at 18. He's 35, and I got a feeling with that occult number that he's going to end and be the record holder at 18. So we'll have to see. But just wanted to point out those observations about the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship, the Australian Open. All the glory and honor to Jehovah and to the Lord Jesus Christ. And God bless everybody. Have a great day, and thank you.